Hi guys! Okay, so I know this looks really weird. I'm not really holding a book. I'm just holding a picture of the front cover of the second book. So like I mentioned in the review of the first book, I could only get the second and third book in what is this called? E-reader form? Right? E-form. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I can't remember. So I had to actually go and print out the front cover so I had something to hold. And I was going to try printing like a letter size, but you're just going to get a very nice big A4 size of the book. But anyway, let us commence. So the second book in the Requiem series by Paula Weston, this one is called Haze. I give this one a 2.5 stars out of 5. So that's definitely not great given I gave the first book 3 stars, but I will get into why. So let's get cracking. The plot. They finally find Jude. Very exciting because I love Jude as a character. Chef's kiss. Let's hope he stays great in the the third book. And then once they find Jude, the OG gang, so Jude, Gabe, Rafe, Maggie, and Jason, they go, to try and figure out what happened to Gabe and Jude, why they lost their memories, who did it, and where the fallen are, what's going on, right? So that's a plot. So the setting, I don't know if I mentioned in the first book review, but this is actually set in Australia. And I did not realize that because I did not realize what Pan Beach was until I didn't realize it was in Australia, right? I'm just not very good with geography, apologies. But when they had to travel to Melbourne, I was like, hey, I know what you're talking about. I know Collins Street. I know this. This is exciting. So I was like, that's actually really cool. I want to read more fantasy that's based in Australia. I feel like that's a very niche topic given there's barely any fantasy that's based in like an actual country. It's always like some really weird country, like some name that you can like barely pronounce and things like that, right? But honestly, 10 out of 10, I really like that aspect, So great. And it makes sense, I guess, since Paula Weston is an Australian author, but still, it's really cool. Now the pacing. Like I predicted, the second book is a lot more calmed down. There's no 5 million more characters introduced. They introduce a family that know of the fallen and their bastards, as that family like to say. And we also find out from them that there is a way that you can prevent angels and angels that hold on to the humans. You can prevent them from shifting from place to place, which is interesting. And obviously they find Jude. So that's great. Now characters. So the side characters, like always, 10 out of 10. They're funny. They provide comedic relief. There's a lot of, camaraderie. They're always there for each other. And it makes sense because they've all known each other. You assume because Gabe and Jude are 100 years plus, you assume that all the kids are around the same age because the fallen went and impregnated all these women in a very short span of time, like a couple of days. So you assume everyone is the exact same age pretty much, right? So that makes sense. They're lovely, great. However, I do have some thoughts about Gabe. So like I said in the first book, she obviously was very shocked when she found out that she wasn't a 17-year-old girl, that she really was an angel that was 100 plus years old, right? Or half angel. And obviously her reaction was quite what the fuck's going on? Oh my God. She was very kind of standoffish and you know what I mean? And it made sense. I was like, look, obviously I don't expect her to turn around and be like, all right, sweet, let's get cracking, right? That doesn't make sense. It needs to be believable. However, in the second book, I realized that's not just her trying to understand what's happening. That's just her personality. And her personality really sucks. So she becomes really stubborn and really selfish. And sometimes for reasons that don't even make any sense. So for example, when Rafe, Gabe, and a bunch of other half angels go to meet the family, a demon appears, right? So Rafe barely gets Gabe out of there. And they get back to Melbourne, to his safe house. And instead of, to the place where he's staying, not Melbourne, to Pan Beach. And Rafe is like, okay, we need to go to one of the safe places that the outcasts have. They have lots of different safe places around the world. We need to go to one of them right now so the demon doesn't come back. And Gabe, instead of being like, yeah, cool, that makes sense, she's like, no, I want to stay in Pan Beach because it's my home. And I'm like, are you dumb? Like, who cares if it's not even your home. Like, it's not like she lived in Pan Beach. She was there for like 1 year. The only reason why she actually lived in Pan Beach was because that's the next place Jude wanted to go to before he died. So she was there for like a year. I'm like, what connection do you have? Just go with Rafe. I was like, it doesn't make any sense why she's so stubborn. Like, it's just so stupid, right? And unfortunately, Rafe has to bend because she won't. And I'm like, can you just get a grip, bro? And then also, they always mention, like, all the, like, Ez, Zach, and Mia, they all kind of mention how, and Rafe even, they mention how close Jude and Gabe were, right? Before they died. And so that makes sense, right? They're siblings, they're really close, that's fine. But I don't think I didn't think I realized how close they were. Like, Gabe is borderline possessive of Jude. When they find Jude, she's obviously like in shock, she's gassed that he's alive. But then when like other people like Zach, Ez, Mia, they will meet him, they like hug and they will start crying. Jude doesn't because like, I don't know who any of you are, but they all start crying. And instead of Gabe being like, oh, that's so nice, she's like, oh, I wish I had some more time to kind of be with him before everyone else met him. And I'm like, you know, they all knew him for like 100 years plus alongside you, right? Like, it's not like they knew each other for like a year or so and then he like died. They've known each other for so long and they all loved him so much. They actually, you can really tell what kind of person Jude and Gabe was because when everyone sees Jude and find out he's not dead, they're like so gassed. They all give him a hug, they're crying, they're so happy. However, when they see Gabe, they're like, oh, wow, what the fuck, you're alive? And they're like not, they're just more shocked that she's alive. They're not like gassed or anything. Ez and Zach will always, like whenever Rafe is like, I need help, please help me, they'll always come, right? So I feel like Gabe takes advantage of that. And so this situation happens with Mick and Rusty, and Gabe is like, we need to go warn them that the demons are coming for them. And Gabe is like, we need backup, call Ez and Zach. And then Rafe is like, I can't just call them, I also need to call Mia, because this is once Jude is alive too, right? And Mia's like obsessed with Jude. So he's like, I need to call all three. I can't just call them two because if Mia finds out, she's going to give Ez and Zach hell and I'm not going to let that happen, right? And Gabe just doesn't care. She's like, I just don't tell her. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to tell her and she's going to come because if she doesn't come, she's just going to fuck like Ez and Zach over. And then Gabe is like, whatever. And it just really rubbed me the wrong way because I was like, you don't care about because it was her idea. She's like, we need to go warn them. And I'm like, anytime she has an idea, they're doing that idea. She does not budge. And I'm like, I understand in this case that like she's doing a nice thing. She's trying to help someone, but like it's putting other people at risk kind of vibe. Like if you're so desperate to do something, you go do it. Right? Like, why are you calling other people for backup? You know what I mean? It's like really just taking everyone down with her. And I don't like it. Oh no, what's going on with my hair? So I like bleached it yesterday. It's like super crunchy and like just staying in one place. But yeah, I just don't like her. She's really selfish. She's super main character energy. And like, yeah, I really hope she improves in the next book because I just really don't like the vibe she's giving off, right? And unfortunately, the entire book is from her POV. So it's not like I can get any relief from her. She just has to improve. And as I said, I don't DNF. So I will be reading the rest of the series. I just hope that she's better. Okay? And then we're going to have a quick one on Jude. Jude is great. I love Jude. When he finds out that he's a half angel, he obviously is like, what the fuck's going on? But this man is like 180. He's like, all right, sweet. I'm a half angel. Cool. What happens next, right? He takes it on like a champ and he's just very practical and actually very selfless. right? Not like Gabe's selfish kind of selflessness, right? Where it's like, it's less about being selfless for her. It's more just, I have this idea and we're doing it regardless of what happens, right? But with Jude, he's very selfless, like what needs to be done, what's going on kind of vibe. He doesn't really push back as much. And maybe that's because he has Gabe by his side. I don't know. But still, and a good example is like how I talked about that whole Pan Beach incident where she didn't want to leave it because it's her home. Jude, when he finds out he's a half angel, he's like, okay, do you mind if I go back home and get some stuff? Because I assume we're never coming here again, right? And then Rafe is like, yes, you're not. I wish Gabe had that similar understanding. And Gabe is like, whatever. And I'm just like, yes, I agree. Like, I feel like the introduction of Jude really showed me how kind of annoying Gabe was, right? Because he was being just so much more like mature about everything. Whereas Gabe was like, this is still really upsetting me and this really sucks. And I'm like, this is bigger than you, okay? Like, I feel like she's just thinking too much about herself. Like, especially because so many other people are trying to help her. I'm like, at least think about some other people for a change. I think we have enough people thinking about you. I think you can think about someone else, you know? But yes, those are the characters, okay? And then with Spice. So I also had a problem with the Spice. Obviously, it's YA, so I'm not going to be like, there's no Spice, I hate it. Once again, it's a 1-star. They kiss a few times, right? Gabe and Rafe. One thing that I don't understand why Weston is doing is that she's edging the reader, right? What's it called? Gabe and Rafe are about to have sex twice, and they get interrupted both times. Once by Maggie, once by Jude, right? Even in the last book, they are about to have sex, and the Rafe's like, oh, we shouldn't do it because you think you're a virgin. And I'm like, that's really sweet, right? That one made sense. They didn't have sex because even though Gabe is not a virgin, in reality, she still thought she was in that life as a 17-year-old. So they didn't have sex. But now they're past that. So I'm like, can you stop creating these situations where they're about to have sex and then don't? Because I don't know if this is Weston's way of being like, yeah, I'm going to create tension and yearning. I'm like, that's not tension and yearning. At that point, it's just pissing me off. Either go one of two ways. You either let them have sex and make it a closed door, right? Just be like, I don't know how you write closed door Spice, but just make a closed door. Just imply that they've had sex and they wake up the next morning and they're gassed, right? Or you stop edging. You can't have this middle ground because this is stupid. If you wanted sex that bad, just make it adult fantasy. Don't make it YA. I don't understand. I feel like this book could have very easily been adult fantasy because the problem is there's a lot of sexual innuendo style jokes in there and all that and there's a lot of talk about sex and kind of intimacy as well, right? So I'm like, you talk about it so much, yet it's YA. I just feel like Weston doesn't know how to write YA. You know what I mean? It's just really weird. I don't like it. So I feel like, yeah, I'm really hoping in the next book she calms down a little, right? She keeps in her pants. And then, yeah, the last topic I wanted to talk about is that I don't think I mentioned as well, not half of this being, I don't think I mentioned, apologies, but yeah, this is an urban fantasy, right? So an urban fantasy is when the book has, as I'm reading off because I wrote it from Google because I just don't remember. It's when the book has magical, mythical, otherworldly elements, but takes place in a modern setting. And this is actually only the second book series that I've read that is an urban fantasy. Most of them are just your normal fantasy, right? Where you have dragons and all these interesting mythical creatures and they're in the land of or Minimuma. Or you know what I mean? All these random names that you can't pronounce. But I feel it's actually really cool to read an urban fantasy because I feel it's a lot harder to be able to write about in this case, angels, right? Write about angels and demons, but still have it in kind of a real world setting and make it make sense. It's a lot easier if you're creating your whole, a whole new world with all these new things in it, right? Because then you can take it whatever way you like. But to create like new style of characters that, you know, these things don't exist, right? Like angels don't exist, demons don't exist. You know what I mean? Like create these new kind of things, but then put them in an existing setting. That's a bit harder to do, and it's actually really interesting. And I know a lot of people don't like urban fantasy because they're like, I don't want to have a world where there's like dragons and then like they catch a cab. Or like they're just like, there's bloody elves and they're like, oh yeah, let me just like call my pal. And like I understand, like it can kind of take you out of it a little bit, but I feel like if you're able to have both and still have really good world building and kind of keep like, you know, keep your reader in the moment the whole time, I think that is quite difficult to do. So I will give Weston that. Like I haven't read a book like this. I actually have never read a book that, like I mentioned, that is fantasy but based in a actual country. But yeah, that is my book review for Haze. As I said, I give it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. If Gabe gets better in the third book, then we'll bump up. If she was okay in this book, honestly, I probably would have given it 3 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5. But once again, she just didn't do great. Okay? And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!